Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here, and thank you for the FOSDEM team to organize all of this. Really nice events. Really happy to be here to talk to you about Khartis, which is a software we just released. It's a web application to simply create thematic maps in 3 steps. It's actually a tool we designed for students. I'll tell you more about this. I am Paul Girard. I am from Media Lab, research lab in Paris from Sciences Po. And I'm here presenting a work that actually some colleagues worked more than me on, Benjamin and Audrey, who couldn't come today. So I just represent them. Our lab is a social sciences research lab in which we actually try to design what we call digital research methods, which means that we are trying to give researchers in social sciences new ways to do research through the means of different digital tools. And then, because we're doing that, and because we do science and we believe into the open science, everything we do are free and open source software. You can check out our GitHub accounts, in which we have many more projects. So in these projects, we worked closely with another team from Sciences Po called Atelier de Cartographie, who are basically cartographers, who are really specialists into graphic simiologies. So they also are doing information visualizations, not only maps, geographical maps, but also data visualizations. And they are doing that for teaching, to support teaching activities, research activities, editions of books, or even for some museums. You can follow those guys. Here are the names. If you click on the icon on the website, well, actually, yeah, my slides are online in this URL. And yeah, so thematic maps are maps which looks like that. It's basically the kind of maps you might have stumbled upon during your teaching periods, when if you open a geographical history book, you will find this kind of maps. So in this map, for instance, it represents the world's carbon dioxide emissions in 2013 with 2 different visual forms. The first one is the color of the area of the countries representing the per habitant emissions, where the cycle forms represent the total amount of emissions. If you want to see more of their work from Atelier de Cartographie, they have a Cartothèque, which is a website where they actually publish all their productions online on a Creative Commons license. So you can find more than that. Okay, so the story starts when actually these guys from Atelier de Cartographie won a grant from our university organizations to design and develop a pedagogical mapping tool. So the whole idea here was to provide students with a tool to do this kind of thematic maps. So we started a tripartite collaborations where we have teaching cartographers, so they are at the same time really doing cartographies and maps at a high level of simiology, and also teachers. We were more likely the digital method specialists, and also people used to drive a free and open source software projects on the agile methods, with the agile methods as a mean. And then I hired a guy called Arno Petzel from a company called Apix, who is a web application developer specialized into cartography. Cartographical tool. So I have to really say thank you and bravo to Arno, who actually did all the hard work of coding everything you're going to see here. And he really made a really great job. So if you need a good developer in this area, you could check his website. Our first objective is to make things as easily as possible. So we want our tool to be accessible for newbies. When I say that, it's like more likely licensed students 2 years after baccalaureate in France. We want to create a map, of course. For that, we have to make sure to have a mean to get the data for the map, so to upload data, and then we want to be able to choose which map projection we're going to use. And we want this map to convey a message. So we invest a lot into means to actually choose and tune visual forms to map the data on the picture. To sum up, we have basically 3 steps in this tool. I'm going to show it afterward. Right. First one is to upload data, of course, then to choose the map projection, and finally to add visual forms. In the uploading data step, what we the features we've developed are data type recognition. So you just input a CSV and then try to understand whether that numbers columns or latitude column, longitude column, geographical names columns, or any kind of simple qualitative values like strings. And we also, the tool proposes geographical names alignments. So we are trying to recognize from a column with geographical names which one we have in our base map. Then we ask the user to choose a map projection and so we really want this tool to convey pedagogical also information. That's why we tried, well, the cartographers proposed 3 different features to guide the user through their choice of map projection. The first one is area. So does that projections respect the areas? The second one is distance, and the third one is angles. So actually, this is all the map projection the tool proposed so far. So we have, well, you know that, I'm sure. And so what they did, actually, they decided to qualitatively decide which one were the good ones to if you want to respect the areas, or the distance, or the angle. And then it leads to people just to remember that the Mercator projections, which is the most commonly used because it's squared, it's quite convenient. It's really good for angle, but really bad for distance and areas. That's really one important point for my colleagues from Atelier Cartography. But you can still use it if you want. And the last step is to tune the visual forms. So here, basically, the idea is first to pick a variable from the data. You can have many different columns in your CSV. You pick one, and then you say, like, well, what I want to do with that? I want to add the symbols on my map. I want to draw colors on areas. And then you can tune the colors, the size. You can define classes. You'll see that how to map the variations into different classes using means and all the kind of statistical treatments. And then finally, you have your map, you add the title, you add an author, you add source, you tune the legend, and here you are. You have your SVG, or your PNG. All right, so remember that map? The one they've done, I've picked up as an example. So what we're going to do now is to do a live mapping exercise. So I have find the datasets they've used to do the first one. So this map has been done basically in Illustrator, I think. I should have asked my colleagues about that, but I think it's mainly Illustrator. So now we're going to do it with Khartis using the same data. And here we are. Okay, so this is the datasets. So it's basically total dioxide emissions. We have many years. So I'm just going to filter out, thanks to LibreOffice, the year we want to map. So let's go. Let's take that one. One more there. Yeah. So I'll just copy. And let's go to Khartis. Oh, shouldn't have done that. All right. So here is Khartis. The first thing I will do is to change to English for you guys. So the first thing the tool proposes you is to select a map. So here I'm going to work on the world countries, the 2016 time. It proposes you many different ways to describe countries. So we have labels in different languages. We also have like ISO codes. But you don't have to worry about this. If you need those to prepare your data, you can download this model to do your cleaning. So the cleaning has to be done preferably before. But if you, so if you just upload your CSV, so I have it here, and here you have the column recognitions, data type recognition I was talking before. And as you can see, well, you can see here, for instance, that the year has been understood as a latitude information. It's not. It's a numeric one. And then here you can see that it doesn't succeed into casting strings into country names for 24 cases on 220. And then here we have a little guide to let the users actually help the algorithm, well, not the algorithm, the alignments process manually. So we try to do everything on automatical ways, and if it's not, then, well, here, for instance, the the esperluette, we say in French is not recognized because we want the end in 4 letters, and this is true for everything. It's like almost there. Actually, we are sticking into adding a kind of a fuzzy recognition mechanism here. We have the technology. We just have to put the button here, but you know, we haven't done that so far. So this is important because, like, if you don't do that, it will not recognize China mainland as China. So you will have like missing points in your map, and you don't want that, right? So this is yeah. So I'll switch to the point where I've done that. Okay. You see, like, woohoo! It's done. Right. The Montserrat, I couldn't find Montserrat, so it means that I have more data in my files than I have on my base map. Okay, I can drop one. I'm fine with that. The rest is pretty cool. So we can go into the visualization, and this is where you close your eyes because I want to do that with you. All right. So I have my base map here. So it's for now empty. Here I can go back to choose different kind of base map if I want. I have to click here. You can also tune the base map if you need to, you know, for instance here, you can change the longitudes, right? And then this is where the plus button brings you to the second step, which is basically to create visual forms. So the first thing I'm going to do is to take the total, I'm going to take the per capita CO2 emissions, and then I'll use, and this is where the tools propose you to decide which forms, visual forms, oh, sorry, I'm in French, sorry about that, yeah, better. So here you can choose different visual forms. So you have 2 ways. The first thing you have to choose is whether you want to consider these variables as values or as categories. Quantitative variables, qualitative variables. And then the second choice is do you want to use symbols or areas. So here I'm going to use areas, continuous scale. And here we are. Here we have the distributions of the values, and you can choose different ways to discretize your values, regular, interval, nested means, and quantiles. You can choose the number of classes you want. So just to show you that actually works, right? You can change everything. You can also choose the color patterns. So we compute a lot of different color patterns to propose the user. So if I want to do something similar to the first one we had, I'm going to use a scale of red. Yep. Good. Or you can use hatching if you want. You remember this time where we are using hatchings? You can do it. You can also reverse the scale if you like it better. Right. You can also see your data aggregated if you need. And here we are. We have our first visual forms, which is areas colors. And then I'm going to speed up because I'm late. Then I'm adding a new variable with the total emissions, and now I'm going to use symbols. And then for the symbols, I'll actually use circles, and then I'll make them empty. No, sorry, I'm using the alpha, right? And then I'm just using the scale, using the USA as my maximum, I think. Maybe not. And here we are. Let's say we're good. Right. Okay. Ta-da. So now we have our map, our visual forms. We have a legend. That's pretty cool. And we just, okay, I added the titles, the source of data and the author here. You can see that they are I did on the edge of the map, and then from here you can decide to put the legend or to discard it, to add borders, to do, or you can put the graticals back if you need. All that kind of things. You can choose a resolution, and then bam, you can download. Okay. So, sorry about that. Hop, here we are. Okay, so this is our results, and so in a few minutes I tried to do the same thing that we had in Illustrator, right? With Khartis, like that. Okay, to finish up, another quite of nice feature that actually took a few times to do from Arnaud to develop is this kind of base map where you actually have discontinuity in the geospatial areas. So we have the France métropolitaine, and then we have départements d'outre-mer, which are like islands in Caraïbes and in l'île de la Réunion. And so here I used geolocalized datasets, and the geolocalizations works on different areas, although there is a discontinuity between those. Doing that was not exactly easy because it was not planned at the beginning, so we haven't thought about that. And so the whole engine of putting the points on the map needed this special multiple geospatial areas. Under the hood, we have a full web client application. It's Ember.js, JavaScript. We use D3 for the projection and many different visualization utilities. You can fork that on GitHub, of course. And because it's full web, your data stays on your computer. So we don't have any server features. It's only web, full web, which means that it was quite easy to provide with an Electron version for offline use, which means that you can also download a desktop application of Khartis and use it on your computer without internet. There's actually a talk about Electron later this day in another room. And that's it. Here, Khartis. Any questions? Yeah.
It's more a legal question than a technical question. Is when you get data, how do you know if you can reuse it to create it?
Okay, so I'm not a legal person. So your question is, are you allowed to reuse data to create a map? I think for what I know is, for first thing, the data set I'm using here was, I think, a DOI, so it was ready to publish, so there was no problem with that. But I think a map can be understood as a statistical work on data. So you're not, if you publish the map without the data sets, you're not publishing the data. So you don't have to have the right to publish it because you're publishing your work of interpretation of the data. So this is a different point. And the second question was? That was it? Okay.
I had a second question that I didn't ask though.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you do if you have lots of different data? Maybe you want to show natural resources, like say I want to map oil, gold, silver, uranium, and whatever.
Yeah.
A lot of different symbols.
Yes. Okay. So two things about that. First is this tool is to create a thematic map. So your map is not an exploratory data analysis tool. If you want to do that, use a GIS. It's good for you. You will use that once you know what you want to tell your readers. And your readers will not support like too many information in one map. So you have to choose for them how you're going to tell your stories with maps, which means that you might first put like 2, 3, 5 layers of symbols. You can do that in Khartis. Actually, in the visualization here, this is one layer, this is another layer. You can add many layers if you need. But I mean, more than 3 is going to be a mess. And then you can create multiple maps. And then you're going to build an atlas, basically. So it's really like, you're producing documents people can read, and you have to make sure what you're doing is going to be easily readable by the people. So you cannot put too much information on it. Yeah.
Can you create your own base map? I'm asking the question because in my line of work, I work with data which is offshore, so in the sea.
Yeah. Okay, so no, not yet. probably not that soon, because our targeted audience. Oh yeah, the question was, can you build your own base map in Khartis? So technically you could, but we are not going to put money into the user interface to do so, because our targeting audience are students, which doesn't know how to do that. But I mean, the whole system is easily manageable by our team of cartographers to add base maps. So the process to do that will contact them, propose the base maps. They will tell you the guidelines of which kind of base maps they can handle, and then put it back in the source code. And you can also fork the source code, learn how to do it, and do it on your own. But there will not be like user interface to do that.
Would you accept such a contribution? I mean, if people make it,
Yeah, I think so. Well, I hope. But this is a joint collaboration. So I'm speaking on the behalf of my teams of cartographers. I don't know exactly what their editorial, directions, which directions they want to go. But I'm pretty sure they will accept contributions like new base maps. Yeah. Yeah.
And can you restrict the map that you're using to a certain area as well?
Yeah, of course. Look, it's as easy as.
I want to see Asia, for instance. Can I just say
Yeah.
Asia and then it figures out Asia by itself, or do I need to do it?
So you have two ways to do it. You can do it like this,
Yeah.
and it will export only the viewable part component, or you can when you choose a base map, we have base map on the specific countries as France, as I showed in my slides. You might have a base map for Asia. Okay, thank you.